into a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that safe, algorithms new dawn the day. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're unplanned. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
Let's make America great again. On this episode of Legacy News 42, it's Crypto Wednesday. And as you can see, I want to make America great again. I want to make my great-great-grandfather great again. I want to make my ancestors proud of me by decentralizing the monetary system and bringing liberty and freedom back to individuals, one step at a time. And it's not through politics. It's not through culture. God forbid it's not through culture, when you got governments trying to seize control of one's own culture to replace it with another forcibly. It's time to break free. It's time to break Monero. I am the legacy of Jennifer Int Kaiser. I am the great-great-grandson Ellington. I am the great-grandson of Ben Ellington. That's my legacy. And the legacy is breaking the chains. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on? Oh, man, you got a great legacy. You know what my legacy is? I went on an airplane ride and I visited the IRS.
You visited the IRS?
Yeah. Kind people.
Well, I bet they were pretty kind. I mean, they're just doing their jobs, man. Yeah. How was that experience? Besides,
it was a breeze. I came out of an explosive result. Actually, they're closing down the offices now.
Whoa! Are you talking about terrorism?
No.
You've been reading the Anarchist Cookbook, haven't you? Good read, by the way, everybody. I recommend check out the real Anarchist Handbook, the Anarchist Cookbook. You know, making bombs and shit.
Right? Yeah, that's going to get us canceled on YouTube. But you know what isn't? Reviewing World War I by Norman Stone. That never, ever gets us canceled on YouTube. That'll come down the road.
that'll come down the road. But honestly, great point that you showed that book from Norman Stone, because World War One, we're still fighting the same battle that we're still fighting today in regards towards the monetary system, and
Right.
that is why the blockchain exists. That is why Satoshi gave us Bitcoin core in its first element, and why in 2009, when the white paper was released, the idea was to break away. It wasn't to be a budget sheet for central banks. I
Yeah.
mean, which it has sadly become, at least Bitcoin Core.
Pivot.
But I mean, the whole idea is to literally break from the system and defy all odds to enrich yourself, not necessarily through a monetary means, although that's definitely a bonus, but to enrich yourself with another alternative, an option, to have options.
Options are important.
So, and speaking of options, because Twitter is in a shitstorm right now, and I got to bring it up, but
You go for it. You
yeah,
go, boy.
Massey is standing up to the old Bolshevik clan of the Republican base that wants to continue, or actually they are going to continue it. It did pass the CR, that wants to continue the Biden era excessive spending. Because, Trump is not for making America great again. Trump is for the status quo, and so are the Republicans, as well as the Democrats. I think the majority of the Democrats in the House, they voted with their party line. So they would much rather shut the government down in defiance towards the work their scripted compadres, their scripted rivals. But Massey is a man that actually stands up, and he'll toe that line, right? He's just like what Bitcoin was supposed to be, and what Monero is, as we break into it. He is the
Listen, man.
It's the system.
I've been to Covington. He is the needle in the haystack.
He is the needle in the haystack, and especially in Covington, the most progressive fucking city in northern Kentucky. That's not Louisville or Lexington, since it's only a city of 50,000. So, I mean, you go to Louisville or Lexington, Louisville's got to be close to like 500,000. I mean, the metropolitan area is well in the millions. Lexington's got to be like 200,000 or 300,000 people. Of course, you're going to have more progressive means in cities, but Covington be a $50,000, be a 50,000 strong population of progressives in northern Kentucky, man.
The millions and millions of the Rocks fans and Covington.
Man, they probably are Rock fans, considering he's a progressive. He is a liberal. He's a kind of on that liberal side, but at least in the politics of today. But you got to give it to Massey for standing strong in such a progressive area, man.
Right.
So,
yep.
And you got to give it to him for standing strong against the Trump Bolshevikism of the day. I mean, what do you think? You think MAGA is showing itself as being the new wave of Bolshevikism?
Pomp and circumstance. You gotta stake your claim before you can make the tide turn, right? That's why this is a second iteration of the same script.
It's the same script, man. And I honestly think the MAGA is your red army, and the Democrats are the white army.
Yeah.
The Democrats, because they understand what they want. They're not full-fledged like communist revolution. They are neoliberal, corporatish, or am I over capitalist? They are capitalists. They're neoliberals with
for themselves.
democratic.
They're capitalists for themselves, not for the general society.
I mean, but they're neoliberal capitalists. They're structured in a democratic socialist ideology. I mean, obviously, they're utilizing that to their advantage because they understand with great power comes great responsibility, right? Or lack thereof.
Uncle Ben,
The response,
Enneagram
yeah.
269.
Well, yeah, the responsibility of the government towards the masses, but then you have MAGA, and then then you start really looking at him like Trump kind of has that Vladimir Lenin vibe, man. I mean, the Democrats for the last 4 years, actually the last 8 years, have been calling Donald Trump Hitler. Man, I'm going to straight up say right now, Donald Trump is not Hitler. Donald Trump is Lenin, man. And he has all the retards by the balls because the means of production owned by the working class is all that matters.
Mm-hmm.
There is no economy. There's no fashionable economy under the Trump regime, just like there wasn't with Biden or Obama.
We had a better economy before World War II than we do now. That's for sure.
And we were in a depression.
Yeah.
So, but with that, to dive into economical expertise and innovation that can really allow you to take control of yours rather than fall in line with the collective and their collective revolution of a worker's paradise.
You would put it that way.
Yeah.
Breaking Monero. Ready, guys?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Breaking Monero. Today, we have a much simpler topic than the last two episodes, at least. Just the idea of an unusual ring size. This should be a pretty short episode for you all today. We already spoke about what Monero's ring signatures are, so make sure to go watch those episodes if you haven't seen them yet. But instead, we're simply covering how Monero's ring size has sort of changed and how, as a result, you can't really send transactions with unusual ring sizes anymore. So, to begin with, we're going to start with a brief history lesson. And to help aid us with this, there's this one contributor called Stofu who has a real fantastic tool over here in regards to Monero's, the ring size of Monero transactions over time. So you can see back when Monero was first started that most of the transactions, they're about 98% of them had a ring size of 1 in that you did not hide the output at all. There was essentially no ring signature. And as we increased the minimum, as you can clearly see here, that the minimum became 3. So as a result, most became ring size 3, and then 5, and then 7, and now 11. But as you can see, going up to this process, it wasn't that everyone only used one specific number. So you can see here, for example, on June 30th, 2017, that sure, most transactions used ring size 3, but there were several other transactions that were sent. As an example here, there were 130 transactions on that day, about 5% that sent transactions with ring size 11. And this was one of the options in the GUI, so you can tell the GUI wallet software. So it was more likely for someone to use a ring size of 11 than a ring size of 14, let's say. But if we zoom in on the current history, if we go in just to the recent day, we can see that now ring size 11, which is the current ring size of Monero, is the only transaction size that people can use. No, it's not just the case that coincidentally everyone's sending transactions this way. It's actually mandated on the network that you send transactions this way, that you actually have a mandatory ring size now. So this is a little bit of just, history going back. And so hopefully this tool, if you want to play around, Stofu has a ton of great data too on their website. You can see the link just up there. So a lot of cool data there, even beyond just Monero ring sizes for whatever you're interested in, but just warning that it will destroy your browser window as you're trying to use them. Just fair warning to everyone who's trying to set this up for the first time. All right, but as far as late introductions here, I apologize, but yep, I'm Justin, here as always, and just like always too, we have Sarang over there. Wait, Sarang.
Hey.
Excellent. So do you want to talk about some of the sort of crazy outliers we had with Monero rings in the past and sort of what people were doing there?
Yeah, so I mean, as you kind of pointed out, up until very, very recently, the ring size was not fixed. So there were minimum ring sizes established. The minimum originally was 1 because you had to send something, which has effectively meant that ring signatures were more or less optional. And as you said, that minimum has increased over time. But that was just a minimum. So in the wallet software, you could choose, in theory, any ring size that you wanted. And then your wallet software would choose, approximately that many decoys along with your real sent output and generate a transaction with it. And then different wallets, of course, could kind of make their own decisions on, what they wanted to offer as kind of fixed options. As you pointed out, some wallet software, while it would let you choose any ring size if you really wanted to, would also offer kind of some preset options to kind of make things easy for you. But some folks definitely have had some outliers when they, presumably wanted to increase their privacy a great deal. We discussed before we recorded, discussed a couple of interesting ones. One of which looks like on October 10th, 2018, that was, greater than 100, for example. But I think kind of the biggest standout that you would notice, I think you actually have a screen to show for this one, was in April 2017, which had, as far as I have seen, one of, if not the greatest ring sizes of all time, at 4,501. So
yeah, I can pull that up and just show people that really briefly. You can just see on this example Block Explorer page here that you had a mix-in of 4,500, so a ring size of 4,501. So this is a quite large ring size. Remember that at the time, this was in April 2017, so the default was either 5 or 7. So this was
yeah, it's pretty crazy. And remember, the way the ring signatures work, among those 4,501 outputs that occurred in that signature, only one of them was the truly spent output. Absent external information, we don't know what it is. We noticed as we did a little bit of digging in there, a lot of the decoys that were used in that transaction actually had ring size 1. And so would have been, trivially vulnerable to the whole zero mix-in and possibly leading to a chain reaction attack. So, and as we talked about when we talked about our output selection algorithm, there's more to it than just ring size when it comes to safely building a transaction. But those are kind of some interesting standouts. And of course, why this can be a problem has to do with fingerprinting. And the idea of fingerprinting is that if your wallet software behaves, abnormally or in any way that kind of stands out when it's generating a transaction, an adversary can kind of use that as a heuristic to try to figure out what software you're using. Does that break your privacy immediately? Well, no, not necessarily. But at the same time, the goal is for everyone to kind of blend in uniformly. So, if you decide for whatever reason to, have ring size 69, because, that's the thing you want to do, then presumably someone could look at the chain and be like, oh, a transaction with ring size 69. It must be that one ring 69 guy. Does that tell who you are? Not necessarily, but it does make you stand out. And we even see different wallet software over time that's kind of giving users options that presumably was to, offer them different levels of privacy. Presumably, in those cases, a smaller ring would have meant lower privacy and a larger ring could have meant higher privacy. But of course, that's not necessarily the case, right? We do know that if wallet software offers different values for those options than other wallet software, that's a method to fingerprint what wallet you were using. And of course, there's much more that goes into what, determines, the level of effective privacy of a ring than just its ring size. Now, of course, we have a fixed mandatory ring size of 11, which means a real input and, 10 decoys. And that's no longer a minimum. Regardless of what your wallet software tries to do, if it tries to broadcast a transaction with any number besides that, the network will reject it and it will not be added to the blockchain, which is why when you looked at that graphic earlier, we saw that 100% of transactions since that fork or upgrade date now have that precise ring size. And that's a good thing. Will we ever consider raising the ring size in the future? If we see a definite user benefit, yes, we will consider that. But there are trade-offs. So, absent all other information, in theory, having a larger ring size in the absence of other information, can be better for your privacy. Why? Because a ring signature guarantees that, 1 out of however many outputs are in your ring are the true signer. And again, absent external information. But it tends to be more complicated in practice. For example, we saw in our previous episode on the output selection algorithm, we know that can be a little bit complicated. If you choose those decoys poorly, for example, that can start to leak a little bit of heuristic information to an adversary. And there's other forms of analysis that are a bit less sensitive to that, for which just purely increasing the ring size might not give you as much benefit as you want. And there are downsides, right? If we choose to have a larger ring size, well, that means that the transactions become bigger, the blockchain bloats faster. Depending on our fee model, it could yield higher fees. And it means that it's also slower to sync the blockchain over time, and that could discourage people from running full nodes. So it's kind of this, large scale effect if we were to do that. Do we get better privacy? According to some models, yes. But according to other models, not necessarily. So kind of the big motto behind all of this, I think, is that our goal is to make sure that every transaction, to the extent possible, blends in with every other transaction. If there's a way that a transaction can stand out, if that could allow any kind of fingerprinting or leak of information, we want to avoid it. Researchers and developers in the Monero community decided that allowing for larger ring sizes, while it could have some marginal benefit, was outweighed by the fact that that could allow fingerprinting and in general just standing out from other transactions. And that because of that, we decided to go to a fixed ring size. So we really want to make it fairly difficult for people to make choices that are unsafe for them and other people. And I think that this was one way in which we were able to help that.
To give a brief example of that, suppose that I was paying Serang for any reason, right? And say I want to buy Serang's cool coffee mug there, right? He sells coffee mugs, okay? Suppose that Serang was really concerned about your privacy and that you said, okay, any payments sent to me must have a ring size of this number or greater because I want the most privacy possible when I'm receiving payments. So suppose Serang just goes off the wall. He says, if you're sending me a transaction, you need to send me a transaction with the ring size 100 or greater. Well, there aren't that many people that are sending transactions with those ring sizes, so you could fingerprint essentially by looking at the blockchain data and say, okay, this is a transaction that meets Serang's merchant store minimum requirement of 100. So there's a greater chance this transaction went to him than any other transaction with a smaller ring size. So it was really balancing those sort of things. It's weird because on one hand, you can go to one strict extreme where you can say that any larger ring size is better. Like I can send a ring size with 5, a transaction with a ring size of 10 or 100. Why shouldn't I send with 100? It's larger. And then you can go to the other extreme that says, well, you're exposing more information. And really, for reality's purpose, it's kind of somewhere between the two, and we need to manage fingerprinting against actual size and use cases and other things like that.
Yeah, increasing the ring size, according to some forms of analysis, can be very beneficial, but you end up paying for it in other ways. So there's always a balance, and we have to try to meet that balance at any point in time as best we can. And that's what we do.
Great, Serang. Any last closing thoughts that you have on this short topic here?
We turned it up to 11, man.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for joining me, Serang. Thanks for watching this very brief episode today. We'll have others coming up for you later. Take care and have a great rest of your day.
See ya.
Fantastic. A nice short one for
Right.
this Wednesday with all the other shenanigans in this fast-paced bullshit media frenzy that we have in today's day and age. We are so ADHD, so that's a short one, but let's extend it. All right. They talk about the ring size and how it's gone from minimums but expanded to somewhat of a mandate in wanting to keep the ring size gathered at 1. So
Yeah.
My question is to you, Andrew, why enforce such a mandate when it comes to ring size?
Well, they're talking about
people up and
they're
turn
talking
your mic
about-
down just a little bit.
just a little bit. Okay, just a second.
You were echoing
that better?
in my ears. And
that better?
A little bit. That's
Okay.
better. That's a little bit
All
better.
right.
It might just be my headset.
They're talking about heuristics, right? And that's like, and they said fingerprints, right? Everyone knows that you have fingerprints, right? And you don't want to, if you was to do something and you're trying to be private about it, you don't want to leave any evidence. People don't know. Hold on just a second. I'll pull this up. I learned this from Detective Conan. Sorry. People's ears, they're unique. So if you were trying to be secret about doing something, but you're on camera, but you don't leave any fingerprints, but you're walking by a camera, they can take a still frame of your ear. And I know it's unrealistic, but it could be something they could use to catch you. And that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to get you to think outside of the box about things that you can maintain your privacy without actually, thinking about it. And they said that, and it does sound a little centralized, but the more people think about different, alternatives to breaking your privacy, the safer you are across the board.
It's behavioral economics. It really is. You understand the behaviors in human action and interaction to the point that everybody makes some sort of misstep. So in order to protect yourself as well as others, you want to avail some sort of privacy needs. But when does that privacy apparatus that you want to fulfill through more security measures kind of blur the line, and you end up having less privacy, though, because
it is
security.
Privacy is a trade-off, right? Security, privacy. Yes. There's no 100% either way, and that's why we have these different implementations and these different projects. Is that the longer that the projects run and the more sustainable they become, the more fleshed out and greater understanding we have as to what's the most effective way to maintain your privacy. Because right now we don't have any privacy at all. I mean, they were joking about Playboy, like in the 90s, about the NSA and their spying apparatus programs, and it's only gotten worse since then. So,
Playboy, is that what you were doing back in the 90s, man?
Yeah, no.
Don't lie. Did you find your dad's Playboy collection when you were 4?
No, he was a hustler guy.
Oh, he was a hustler, even more raunchy. What the fuck? Holy shit!
Oh god, I'm going to hell.
Damn.
At least I'm going to play the piano.
Holy shit! Yeah, you open one of them mags, man. You're just like full on, like, what the fuck?
Right?
I ain't ready for this.
No, I was going through my my grandpa's house after he passed away a couple years ago, and I was just going through his house, and I found a Playboy magazine. I was looking at the different articles, and they were talking about that in the articles.
Well, to stay on this, first off, I think it's a little comical because it's Playboy, but Playboy actually they were very astute in a lot of conversational pieces.
To be.
They were nuanced. They were very nuanced. Like, it was, yes, you had your photo shoot inside the mags, but then you also had very well.
They call it a tell.
Article.
They call it a tell. Mm-hmm. People who are smart knew where to look.
Yeah,
they wanted privacy. They go to Playboy.
Yeah, they lure you in too. They lure you in with the naked women. I mean, or the half naked women or whatever, like these beautiful women, right? And then all of a sudden you're reading an article, like an economics article, like, what the fuck? Or an article about the NSA. It's like, what? I didn't expect this. So that speaking of privacy, security, centralization, and let's compare. Let's do a little history lesson and jump into politics. That seems like the theme of today. Bitcoin Core effectively has become the counter-revolution that the United States Constitution, if you look for, like for us, we've looked further into, for where there was more centralization added for a greater central or federal government to be able to protect rights. Realistically, that's not the case, but that was the narrative that they drove on.
That's the marketing.
Yeah, that's the marketing. So when I look at what Bitcoin Core has become, I see the centralized aspect of the Constitution through the precedents that have been established. Would you put Monero into the equivalency of that of the Articles of Confederation, or better yet, or since we're on the Constitution and its precedents, would you put Monero? A better question is, would you articulate Monero more closely aligned with a convention of states that are trying to
I
reestablish
would
what the
say it was, you
Constitution
know, a step in the
should be?
right direction, but it would be a pivot of the Articles of Confederation. It wouldn't be, you know, because this is just one implementation.
Well, not just the Articles of Confederation, but more like a convention of states that is trying to set the boundaries of what the Constitution can theoretically allow and has theoretically permitted because of set precedents within the courts and federal powers expanding. So, would Monero be specifically with like ring size sets, more deregulated, but regulated through trade-off scenarios? Would it be more of a call of convention of states against the the argument of constitutionality, if you wanted to throw in the political form into
I
crypto?
w- I would say it would be an equivalent in the fact that, you know, it is one project equal to one state, and you know that the states were originally very authentic in their own nature because they were so young and so fresh.
Mm. Now, would you
If that
say
makes
that
sense.
Hustler? Now, let's take it another example. Would you say that Hustler is the expanded powers of the state, uh, trying to contest the more nuanced Playboy magazine?
I would think so. I mean, didn't they have a case at the Supreme Court?
What was his name? Larry. Who founded
Uh,
Hustler? Larry. It's Larry something.
that
But yeah,
Larry Shaw. No,
there's a
not Larry. I'm,
no.
I'm
But
trying to.
anyways, I know
The
what you're
guy's
talking
name.
about because he had a case. It was actually a free
Yeah,
speech case.
they had a movie
That
about it too, if I remember
there is
correctly.
yeah, Larry Flint. Larry
Yeah,
Flint
Flint.
versus the USA or United States. Yeah. There was a movie about it. So, but yeah, it went all the way up to the highest court. How did that case? I don't know.
That I don't remember off the top of
I,
my head. I just remember hearing about the movie about it.
yeah, I think he won. I could be wrong. You looking it up there, Jamie?
No, I'm trying. I remember seeing sending the pictures of those articles to a friend of mine. I'm seeing if I can find the article real quick. It's
All in
nothing inappropriate. It's just a picture
all in
from
all, yeah. All in
the
all,
magazine,
everybody. All in all, Monero is to Playboy as Hustler is to Bitcoin Core.
right?
Yeah, because Bitcoin has been perverted. It really
It
has. It's
has.
been muddled. It's effectively become this idea of, I mean, number go up, number go up. It's a balance sheet initiative for central banks, for asset firms, for hedge funds. This is the reason why companies like BlackRock have so much on their budgets
because
for
they're
Bitcoin
bankrupted,
allocated. No, of
but
course,
they
because
just
they're
they
bank.
can't admit it.
Yeah, and so this is why Bitcoin Core has been corrupted. And when you look at how Monero is designed with a more efficient means to a more efficient means in both providing security and privacy through trade-offs in a market, you start realizing like, oh, hold up, maybe Bitcoin's wrong. Maybe Bitcoin has been corrupted. Maybe it has been hijacked as the Roger Ver book
Implied.
entangles or implied. Yeah, maybe it's entangled with feds.
Yep.
So, but I mean, but with that, like when we go into ring size,
Yeah.
the ring size initiative, and raising it, or establishing a significant, what's the word I'm looking, just a significant established idea of where we want the ring size to be
Found
placed
it.
at. Yeah, the foundation.
Yeah.
So, could that be defined in a similar fashion for when Congress politically go in to pass the amendments to bills to raise the debt ceiling?
I
Or am
mean,
I just
in
overthinking
an
this?
open source way, yeah, I suppose. I mean,
Yeah, an open
it is
source.
it is one instance of what they consider to be law.
Yeah, and I mean, to go into the open source idea, open source is basically the market on full blast. I mean, there's
Yeah,
always trade-off. I mean,
it's a
you're not always,
competition in law. That's what they've always talked about. It needs to be a competition in law.
yeah, not everybody's going to be happy, but that's
Yeah,
not the point of life. Now, I mean, we can
right.
set that aside. Let's look at life, right? You're
Yeah,
never going to, don't ever expect to get everything in life. You got to work hard, you got to put forth the effort, and you got to have some sort of stringent purpose towards how you live your life and what you're working towards. You have to set goals in order to be able to find something. I don't know. Find something in your life that is worth fighting for effectively, and that's what open
yeah.
source, in this parameter.
A
Uh,
foundational myth.
Go on. What about a
Well,
foundational
I'm
myth?
just well. That's the whole drive of your existence. Is you have this identity that
I
drives who
disagree.
you are and what you do.
There's no. I disagree. I think you're establishing a foundation, but I don't think there's a myth about it. I think the foundational myth comes from certain collectives in controlling people's lives in some
Well, that's
capacity that create a centralized myth of why you do what you do. But in reality, you have your own set ways of why you're trying to expand upon that foundational idea. So
well. I
you
mean,
set your idea.
that's what they did with the Constitution and its foundational myth, and that's what everybody preaches about all the time. About you got to follow the
Yeah,
Constitution. You got to follow the Constitution.
yeah, that's collectivism.
These projects are foundational myths in the fact that they have a narrow understanding of what they're trying to do and they're building it out.
That's not a myth, though. They're establishing a foundation. They're theorizing where they need to step in. A myth is literally it's not real. They're still theorizing on the baseline input to their output situation, whereas a foundational myth would be it's just not real at all. You're just being gaslit to believing that George Washington was a good saintly man, that the only thing bad that he did in life was he chopped down his father's or his grandfather's cherry tree, which was also
But
fake.
what about Bitcoin
Or,
Core? It's been co-opted,
well, Bitcoin Core has been co-opted, and that's where the foundational
and
myth
they've got
of
a
it.
myth out of Bitcoin Core.
Yeah, they have a myth because of the co-option of the PR moves.
Yeah.
Yeah, the myth has been created because it isn't what it was effectively created to do anymore. You get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
like I said, a myth is fictitious, but the foundation is in you. Like you can theorize and come up with the ideas and expand upon that ideas. That's the idea of the market of ideas. I'm saying
Yeah.
ideas a lot, but ideas are a market. That's why copyright sucks. Be copy left, everybody.
Yeah.
But Mike could be like, oh, leftism. Don't be a Bolshevik. That's what I'm saying. I think that's the moral of this episode is don't be a Bolshevik, and grab life by the balls and rip them off. Be a Lorena. When the going gets tough, be Lorena Bobbitt and chop that dick off.
Yeah.
That hurt me as much as it probably hurt you saying it, because damn,
If they
I
can
would
find it in
not
the
want-
field.
Was it a field? I thought it was the side of the road.
They say it was a field. At least that's what I remember seeing in the video about it. So
I forget.
see, me and
All I
Zach
know
were
is-
never on the same page, man.
All
We're
I
always
know
going to
is
be
when-
tit for tat.
All I know is she threw it out the car window, so it wound up in a field somewhere along the road. But that's sort of like what that's where we're sitting at with Bitcoin Core. We're still searching for the head.
Gotta get ahead. Altcoin
So,
season is starting soon.
Yeah. So with that, to continue to finish off, where do we stand right now with Monero?
I mean, they keep delisting it and it keeps raising in price. So I think everything they're doing to try to stop it is not working. So I think the project is and one aspect, it's one particularly good success.
So it is a success in one aspect. So the number go up aspect.
Well, the fact that they're getting to them and they can't break the encryption across the board. They keep paying. They were trying to. The IRS is paying people to try to break it, and they've not been able to officially, openly, successfully break it. But I've seen videos. Roger Ver was talking about how there are people who are coders for the Monero project that work for the CIA, and have been open about working for the CIA. So you just got to be careful. No project. That's why it's open source, and not every open source project is perfect. There are some that are open source that are actually they're poison pills. They're designed to catch you off guard because you think, it's open source, it's safe to use, but actually it's totally there to screw you over. So you just have to keep your eggs in multiple baskets. Don't put everything in one basket, and just try to be smart about things.
Last question: where exactly is Monero established for its initial creation? Is it American? I don't think it is.
I think I'm not sure. Let me just a second. I'll look that up.
Because you said CIA.
Yeah.
And technically, the CIA, although they are, and they do have black sites, which is highly unconstitutional, the CIA is not supposed to be operating in on United States soil. They do anyways. Speaking of decentralization.
It doesn't.
But
it says it was created by an anonymous developer. So,
anonymous, sort of like Bitcoin with Satoshi Nakamoto. We still don't know who Satoshi is. We have our theories. I think it's Joe. I think Satoshi's Joe.
Could be. That was a quick Google.
So, who do you think? Anonymous source? Who do you think that anonymous source might be? Roger Ver.
Man. Right.
Yes.
For the real Satoshi, please stand up.
It's the anonymous source. In fact, one last thing. Considering that Monero has an anonymous source and Bitcoin in itself, Bitcoin Core, we still don't necessarily know who is, or if it is a he or she, or if it's just a group of people who Satoshi Nakamoto is. But do you think that Monero could be the same source for the creation of Bitcoin Core to try to rectify its hijacking? Kind of correct.
I mean, you mean a course correction?
Yeah, course correction.
No,
same group of people or whoever. Satoshi.
I don't think that's the case because it was reported on Twitter a couple weeks ago. Now, I mean, this is just speculation, but that the person who's created Bitcoin Core, Satoshi Nakamoto, and early stages of it going public and live, connected to a Canadian exchange which had know your customer requirements. So I don't think they're gonna. I think they were just trying to get out as quickly as possible. So I don't think they would risk putting the heat on them twice by creating Monero, because when they created Bitcoin Core, they didn't know how to program.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. That's fair. So, well, with that, it sounds like sometimes the best form of centralization is decentralized centralization. And that is what Monero looks to be giving us, an ability to protect ourselves and our assets and our ability to live outside the system with as much privacy as you possibly can through the trade-off of security. And sometimes decentralized centralization is the best course of action. With that, we have run completely beyond our time span talking about this. Andrew, anything else that you would like to add?
I'm looking real quick to see if I can find those pictures I was talking about. But besides that, no, I can't really think of anything. Just a second.
We talked about Playboy and Hustler, and now you're looking up pictures.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just photos of the magazine conversation.
Larry Flint would be happy.
Right.
In fact, Larry Flint is probably in hell right now with a big old stiffy.
Well, he's laughing his head off.
Yeah, and yes, he's probably in hell.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name that did. I forgot his name. Oh, Hugh Hefner. Hugh Hefner is.
Yeah.
He might be in purgatory, cleaning his sins.
Right. Yeah. Cleansing his soul, huh?
Just kidding. I think Hugh Hefner was on those flight logs, wasn't he? Probably.
Yeah, probably. I don't see it. I'm sorry. I tried. I really did. But it would have been funny.
Drop a like, share this content, subscribe over to the Legacy Right for some more legacy news. And like I said, make sure you drop and join the conversation. And I want to know, everybody, is Hugh Hefner and Larry Flint in those Epstein client files? Because I have a feeling they are. It wouldn't be funny at all. It would kind of just be honest.
It would just make sense, is what I'm saying.
It would make sense. It would make sense. So, but with that, live long and prosper.
Peace.